Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amber, correspondence?
Yes, we have a letter from Michael Gaynor. I object to Sylvester Manor, SMEF, receiving a permit to have a concert on the premises. They are an illegal business operating in a AA zone, and the town has allowed them to operate illegally for over a decade. With respect to Section 33-3E in Town Code, SMEF has illegal events every month. With respect to Section 33-3G, SMEF held the exact same event last year. They hosted 300+ people and served alcohol. They knew they were required to get a permit, and they had the event anyway. The town took no enforcement action against them for doing so. They attached a link to the event, Mike Gaynor, and then referenced the 33-3.
Any comments from the public? The one public that we have. Okay.
You're representing all of Shelter Island.
Albert, would you start with the resolutions?
Sure. Whereas a public hearing was held on Monday, July 21st, 2025, to hear any and all persons either for or against a local law entitled Amending Chapter Officers and Employees by adding a new Article 4, Town Attorney, to abolish the office of Town Attorney. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board does hereby adopt Local Law Number 10-2025, Local Law Number 10-2025. Be it enacted by the Town Board of the Town of Shelter Island as follows. This local law is adopted pursuant to the authority granted by Municipal Home Rule Law, Section 10, General Powers of Local Governments to adopt and amend local laws. It shall supersede and prevail over any conflicting provision of state law, including but not limited to Town Law Section 22A, relating to the office of Town Attorney within the territorial jurisdiction of the Town of Shelter Island. If any section, provision, or part of this local law shall be adjudged invalid or unconstitutional by a court of competent jurisdiction, then such adjudication shall not affect the validity of the local law as a whole or any section, provision, or part thereof, not so adjudged invalid or unconstitutional, nor the validity of any action theretofore taken by the Board of Ethics. This local law should take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. Article 4, Town Attorney, Section 16, Number 12, Office of Town Attorney abolished. A, the Office of Town Attorney for the Town of Shelter Island is hereby abolished. B, the town shall employ one or more attorneys to render such legal services as are required. C, any and all references in the code to the town attorney shall be deemed to mean any duly appointed counsel to the town board or any attorney duly appointed to provide services to a particular board or to perform a particular service if different. So moved.
May I just mention that the reference to the Board of Ethics was a typo, and it should be a reference to the town board.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Nay. Motion carries.
I'm sorry, because I jumped in and distracted, I don't think there was a second.
Yeah, no, Meg did.
I did
Oh, there
second.
was, okay, thank you.
And it was
Thank you.
4-1.
Yes.
Correct.
Be it resolved that John I. McEnroe is hereby appointed to serve as provisional police officer effective August 18th, 2025.
So moved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Be it resolved that Jeff Schroeder is hereby appointed to serve as building inspector effective August 12th, 2025 for 40 hours per week with a probationary period for 26 weeks to be paid as per 2025 budget. And be it further resolved that Mr. Schroeder shall be granted a leave of absence effective through August 31st, 2025 with a reappointment date effective September 1st, 2025. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carried.
Whereas the term of Lynn Colligan as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals expired on July 8, 2025, and whereas Mrs. Colligan has expressed willingness to continue to serve in said capacity, now therefore be resolved that Lynn Colligan is hereby reappointed to serve as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term to expire on July 8, 2030. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
whereas the term of Robert Lipsick as a member of the West Neck Water District Board of Directors expired on April 25th, 2025, and whereas Mr. Lipsick has expressed the willingness to continue to serve as said capacity, now therefore be it resolved that Robert Lipsick is hereby reappointed to serve as a member of the West Neck Water District Board of Directors for a term to expire in April 25th, 2028. So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas the Waterways Management Advisory Council, WMAC, was established by resolution number 302-1992 to consist of 9 members serving one-year terms. And whereas the town board desires to amend said resolution to ensure consistency and improve the committee's effectiveness, now therefore be it resolved that the WMAC shall consist of 7 members serving staggered 3-year terms, and be it further resolved that the chairman of the WMAC shall serve co-terminously with their appointed expiration date. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas Ian McDonald of Ian McDonald Architect, PLLC, submitted a request for a 100-foot exemption on behalf of the 7 Chequet LLC, 7 Chequet Avenue. And whereas the applicant has previously used the exemption provided in Code Section 29-3H, now therefore be it resolved that the request for a 100-square-foot exemption submitted on behalf of 7 Chequet LLC is hereby denied. So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
May I
carried.
just mention before you take up the next one, that it's a very long resolution. And since it's posted on the town's website, if you wish, you can skip to the resolved, actually the second resolved, which is where the actual approval occurs. This also was subject to a public hearing and has been on the website of the town for a considerable amount of time.
Yes. And I was planning on skipping a good chunk of this.
Sure.
It's like 2 pages.
Yes. Whereas on May 8th, 2025, a wetlands application was submitted on behalf of James and Cheryl Keller seeking a permit to, and then I was not going to read what the permit is asking for or the whereases, which of what was submitted for the application. A copy is filed with the town clerk's office as stated and also online. So skip down.
Second resolve?
Yes. Resolved that the town board further finds, or no, actually, I think it's the next resolve. Yeah. Resolved that the town board hereby approves the issuance of wetlands permit to perform the proposed demolition, construction, and installation of 56A North Cartwright Road in accordance with the Keller Residence Plans, 9 sheets prepared by Bruce Matthew Hampton dated February 19, 2025, and the 56A North Cartwright Road site plan on the following conditions. 1, prior to the commencement of any construction activities, a continuous line of trenched-in wire-backed silt screen shall be staked as shown on the 56A North Cartwright Road site plan, last revised on July 31st, 2025. The screen shall be maintained, repaired, and replaced as often as necessary to ensure proper function until all disturbed areas are permanently vegetated. Sediments trapped by the screen shall be removed away from the screen to an approved upland location before the screen is removed. Silt fencing shall be recessed by trenching 6 inches into the ground. 2, all work, disturbance, and storage of construction materials shall be confined to the limit of clearing and/or ground disturbance shown on the approved plans. 3, the vegetative buffer shall be restored in a manner consistent with the variable assemblage of characteristic native species and gradients found in naturally occurring coastal ecological communities. The town board and/or its designee reserves the right to require additional native-free vegetation and/or other restoration measures in the event that upon a final inspection, a finding is made that the goals of establishing a contiguous, healthy cover of native or natural vegetation within the designated revegetation areas has not been achieved. 4, all areas of soil disturbance resulting from project shall be revegetated and mulched immediately upon completion of the project within 2 days of final grading or by the expiration date of the wetland permit, whichever is first. If revegetation is impractical due to the time of year, temporary mulch shall be applied and final revegetation performed as soon as weather conditions favor germination and growth. Aggregate vegetative cover shall be at least 85% of the area of soil disturbance, with contiguous unvegetated areas no greater than 1 square foot in area. 5, the applicant shall apply for a final wetlands inspection upon completion of all permitted activities. In the event that the town board or its designee determines that the property is not in compliance with all of the terms and conditions of this permit, the applicant shall submit an additional application for a final wetlands inspection. 6, 2 copies of a final as-built survey shall be submitted with the application for a required final wetlands inspection. So moved.
Oh, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas Sunday Shining LLC, 32 South Midway Road, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to construct a 4 by 40-foot ramp down to a 4 by 30-foot dock for a total of 70 feet. Install a 3-foot by 12-foot aluminum ramp leading onto a new 6 by 20-foot floating dock at seaward end as per plan submitted by Costello Marine. Last revised June 10, 2025. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to section 53-9 of the code of the town of Shelter Island, a public hearing will be held at 6:02 p.m. prevailing time on the 29th day of September 2025 in the Shelter Island Town Hall for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition to the proposed construction. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Whereas Ingrid and Robert Fagan, 1 Tarkettle Road, has applied to the town of Shelter Island for a permit to construct a staircase leading up to a 4 by 30-foot fixed catwalk leading to a 4-foot by 50-foot ramp down to a 4-foot by 36-foot kayak launch and install 2 ladders per plans submitted by Costello Marine, last revised July 1st, 2024, and stamped by the New York DEC, approved on April 18th, 2024. And whereas a public hearing was closed on the 30th day of June 2025, and whereas the town board wishes to reopen the hearing for further review, now therefore be it resolved that the public hearing will be held at 6:03 p.m. prevailing time on the 29th of September 2025 in the Shelter Island Town Hall for all interested persons to be heard in favor or in opposition of the application. So move.
Second.
Discussion.
Okay.
The town board, on reflection, we've concluded that more information is needed on this application before we can opine on it. So that's why we're doing the reopening of the public hearing. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas Shelter Island Holdings LLC, care of Eric Zweifatch, 23 Freds Lane, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to install approximately 204 linear feet of 2 to 3 guar fiber rolls, biolog, secured with untreated hardwood stakes along toe of eroding embankment and restore embankment with approximately 40 cubic yards of clean sandy fill to be trucked in from an approved upland source and be planted with native vegetation as per plan submitted by EN Consultants, last dated October 23rd, 2025. And whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 21st day of July, 2025, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition, now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to NYCRR 617.5 C2, this application is deemed a type 2 action. Reasons supporting this determination: the proposed construction, number 1, will not cause an obstruction into navigable channels or an interference with navigation. Number 2, will not adversely affect the public's right to use town waters or land under town waters. 3, will not adversely affect shellfishing grounds or other aquatic wildlife which may exist in the immediate area. Number 4, will not adversely affect the quality of the tidal waters, shoreline, or beaches. And 5, will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent residents. And be it further resolved that the applicant will be responsible for removal of any untreated hardwood stakes that erode or degrade and shall ensure the site is maintained in a safe condition. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned construction as per specifications filed after said applicant pursuant to section 53-9 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island has filed with the town clerk a certificate that the owner has at least $300,000 liability insurance on the location and operations covered by said permit, a copy of the contractor's current home improvement contractor's license, and a certificate from the contractor performing the operations covered by said permit that said contractor has an owner's contractor's policy issued in favor of the town of Shelter Island for the liability limits of at least $500,000, covering operations of the contractor pursuant to said permit. And be it further resolved that said operation shall be completed within 2 years from the date of issuance of this permit. Said permit is subject to the recommended limitations of any requirements that may be necessary under the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the Army Corps of Engineers, and any other agencies having jurisdiction. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas Salma Vadat, 35 East Brander Parkway, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to remove and replace in place approximately 126 linear feet of existing timber bulkhead with vinyl bulkhead, backfill with approximately 15 cubic yards of sand, clean sand to be trucked in from an approved upland source as per plan submitted by EN Consultants dated January 16, 2025. Whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 21st day of July, 2025, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition. Now therefore be resolved that pursuant to NYCRR 617.5C2, this application is deemed a type 2 action. Reasons supporting this determination: the proposed construction, 1, will not cause an obstruction to navigable channels or an interference with navigation. 2, will not adversely affect the public's right to use town waters or land under town waters. 3, will not adversely affect shellfishing grounds or other aquatic wildlife which may exist in the immediate area. 4, will not adversely affect the quality of tidal waters, shoreline, beaches. 5, will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent residents. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned construction as per specifications filed after said applicant pursuant to section 53-9 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island has filed with the town clerk a certificate that the owner has at least $300,000 liability insurance on the location and operations covered by said permit, a copy of the contractor's current home improvement contractor's license, and a certificate from the contractor performing the operations covered by said permit that said contractor has an owner's contractor's policy issued in favor of the town of Shelter Island for the liability limits of at least $500,000 covering operations for the contractor pursuant to said permit. Be it further resolved that said operation shall be completed within 2 years from the date of issuance of the permit. Said permit is subject to the recommended limitations and any requirements that may be necessary under New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, Army Corps of Engineers, and any other agencies having jurisdiction. So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Whereas Stanley Beckwith, on behalf of the Shelter Island Fire Department, 49 North Ferry Road, has submitted an outdoor assembly application for permission to hold a country fair on August 23, 2025, from 11:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. And whereas the applicant has requested an exemption from the noise ordinance, and whereas the required documents have been submitted, now therefore be it resolved, said request is hereby approved. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
Whereas Stephen Searle, on behalf of Sylvester Manor, 80 North Ferry Road, has submitted an outdoor assembly application for permission to hold a fundraiser on August 23rd. Well, it says 2024, but it's 2025. From 4 p.m. to 7:15 p.m. And whereas the applicant has requested an exemption from the noise ordinance, and whereas the required documents have been submitted, now therefore be it resolved that said request is hereby approved. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be it resolved, the supervisor or designee is hereby authorized and directed to execute a letter of engagement between the town of Shelter Island and Wayland Filer PPLC for legal services. So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
Nay. Did Jen vote?
Motion, did you vote?
No, I'm in favor.
Okay, motion carried.
3-2.
Be it resolved that the supervisor or designee is hereby authorized and directed to execute the intermunicipal agreement for the establishment of the Office of Regional Community Preservation Fund Council and the Peconic Bay Region Advisory Committee. So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas the Green Options Committee on behalf of the town of Shelter Island is organizing a day of solar house tours to raise awareness of solar technologies, and whereas the tours will take place on August 24th, 2025, and whereas numerous homeowners wish to participate in the tours to showcase their solar panel installations, and whereas the town wishes to permit these homeowners to participate in the tours, subject to the terms and conditions set forth in the acknowledgement and hold harmless agreement, be it resolved that the supervisor or her designee is hereby authorized to sign such agreements with the participating homeowners. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Whereas Ken Lewis, Highway Superintendent and Commissioner of Public Works, has applied for a grant through the Public Employer Risk Management Association, PERMA. Whereas said grant application has been reviewed and approved by PERMA, now therefore be it resolved that the town of Shelter Island hereby graciously accepts the grant in the amount of $2,500 for the Department of Public Works Work Zone Kit. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
What is a work zone kit?
There's like cones and safety vests and some things for, to help implement the safety program that PERMA is promoting.
Side of the road.
Right, like if you're on a road crew and you need, your flight
Okay,
vest.
all right. No, I just,
Cool.
be it resolved, oh,
Next.
sorry, Ben.
Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to credit the sum of $200 to Shelter Island Fireworks for the refundable compliance deposits for 2 outdoor assembly applications. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be it resolved, the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to credit the air gas refund check in the sum of $293.30 to the 2025 DA 5130.446 Highway Machine Repair Expense Account. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to deposit the sum of $3,554.78 from PERMA to the A1490.101 Highway Public Works Personnel Account. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be it resolved that the following budget transfers are hereby approved. $10,000 from A3120.100 Police Services account to A1490.410 Public Works Ground Maintenance account for the installation of mechanical gate for the school crossing. And $2,000 from the A1355.441 Assessors Revaluation Update account to A1355.492 Assessors School Travel Mileage account to cover the cost of attending seminar. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Whereas the Town of Shelter Island Recreation Department has received 3 generous donations for the purpose of sponsoring a Wednesday by the Water at Wade's as follows: Resheckling Construction, $500, Flash Electric, $300, South Ferry Inc., $600. Whereas the receipt of these funds was not anticipated at the time of the 2025 budget preparation, now therefore be it resolved that the 2025 Revenue Code A2705H miscellaneous donations is hereby increased by $1,400, and the 2025 Expense Code A7310.400 Youth Recreation Program is increased by $1,400, and be it further resolved that the Town Board and the Recreation Department extends their sincere gratitude to Resheckling Construction, Flash Electric, and South Ferry Inc. for their generous contributions. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $38,430 from the A9025 $1.800 LoSAP account to Arrow Bank National Association and Trust Company and sent to Penflex Actuarial Services LLC for the 2024 contribution for the Length of Service Awards Program for the volunteer ambulance workers. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $1,274.40 from the B3620.491 Building Inspector Contracts and the sum of $1,274.39 from the B8010.491 Zoning Contracts to Car Business Systems, P.O. Box 830090, Philadelphia, PA, for a copier contract base rate charge for the 7/1/26.
25.
25, okay,
That's 25 and 20.
25, okay, from 7/1/25 to June 30th, 26. Billing period for Xerox XWC5330 copier. So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be resolved that the 2025 general claims numbered 1412 through 1516 in the amount of $69,551.01. 2025 highway claims numbered 139 through 153 in the amount of $25,426.61. Community Preservation Fund claims numbered 20 and 22 in the amount of $6,460.87, and Water Quality Improvement claim number 21 in the amount of $26.50 are hereby approved for payment as audited, and the supervisor and/or any town board member is hereby authorized and directed to sign the approval for payments of same. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we'll adjourn the regular part of our meeting to go back to public hearings. And unlike last month, we only have 2 to reconvene and probably 2 to adjourn. Next meeting, buckle up because it'll be a long one again. So the reconvening of the public hearing on site plan application of Grady Riley Gardens is being adjourned until September 8th because we are still awaiting a ZBA memo. So we're adjourning that one. The second one is to reconvene the public hearing on the application of Robert Malin, 10 Bluff Avenue. This was opened and immediately adjourned last week because the applicant was clarifying the access to the dock. I don't know if there's anyone here on behalf of the applicant.
No, I had briefly spoke exactly to adjourn it until September. They're still waiting.
They're asking to adjourn that one as well. Okay, so actually, that one, because the WMAC, when they first talked about it, this one is going to have a wetlands application, and so we want to have concurrent review. So we're not going to adjourn it to a date certain. We're going to adjourn it when it's time to reopen it, to reopen it, and we will notice it again. But that'll happen at the same time as the wetlands application.
We received that application?
No,
No, I
we have not.
understand.
That's why
Yeah.
we will not adjourn for a date certain.
Logistical question.
Mhm.
So even though we're not hearing the dock, we don't have anything to act on with the dock application. Actually, because they need access to the dock, which involves a wetlands permit, but we have to keep notifying this through every public hearing?
Well, that's why we're going to adjourn it and not to a date certain. So if we had adjourned it, then we'd have to keep doing it. So we're saying we're just going to adjourn it, and when it's time to pick it up again, then we will have
Okay,
to
all right.
renotice it and,
That makes sense.
yeah. That way we don't keep carrying it over. So that's it on public hearings. So we'll go back to the main part of the meeting. And is there any general public comment? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting. Second?
I'm not sure. Maybe we can keep it up for a while.
All in favor? Aye. You can oppose if you'd like.
No.
Motion carried. Thank you, everyone.